A pale-faced man in his 50s lay on the sickbed. He seemed to have difficulty breathing, constantly coughing. Whenever the old physician by his side wiped his mouth with a cloth, blood of a black color stained it. Sigh. Seeing this, a sigh escaped the old physician's lips. As his condition worsened, the end seemed near. Despite using all his knowledge and experience to treat him, in his long years as a physician, this was the first time he had encountered such an illness. Is there really nothing that can be done? As the personal physician of Yi and Mok Sword Manor, he could envision the situations that would unfold in the future. There would be bloody conflicts between the brothers. Young Master Mok Gyeongwoon. If the Manor Master had openly supported him, the retainers would have stepped forward to solidify his position. Even if he was just the son of a courtesan. Of course, doing so would incur the wrath of the main wife. This is a big problem indeed. As he was lamenting, the door to the Manor Master's room opened. Who is it? The old physician's expression hardened as he turned his head. A face with wrinkles covered by powder, as white as snow. Lips dyed red with rouge, adorned with luxurious jewelry and attire. Madam. As expected. At her question, the old physician nodded with a faint sigh. A sigh, she said. When all the renowned physicians in the vicinity, including you, say they don't even know the name of the illness and that it can't be explained by medicine, calling it a strange phenomenon. There is only one way left. Madam. At those words, the old physician looked at Lady Sok, his white beard trembling. Lady Sok then glared coldly at the old physician and said, with my husband's life hanging by a thread, are you in a position to be picky? But the art of deviation is ultimately just a bizarre method of looking at trivial signs. How can such superstitious? Didn't you say with your own mouth that my husband's illness is no different from a strange phenomenon? That may be so, but... Then why do you oppose using a diviner who deals with strange phenomena? Are you telling me to just wait for my husband to die? That's not what I meant. I don't want to hear it. I have already summoned a diviner to the annex, so Physician Ha should stop and leave. Madam. Do you want to be forcibly dragged out? At these words, the old physician had no choice but to leave, as if he were being driven out. Bringing in a diviner to treat a strange phenomenon. Sigh, she's determined to kill a person with a diviner. Quote. This is the current situation of Yi and Mok Sword Manor. What an interesting family this is. Interesting. He just learned about the situation he was in, and that's what he says. For now, he had no choice but to follow along. However, he had no intention of helping Mok Gyeongwoon succeed. So he had hidden some information. If the truth was 7 parts, he had hidden about 3 parts related to them. Just wait and see. If he could just detoxify the poison, no matter what, he would flinch. Go-chan, who made eye contact with Mok Gyeongwoon, trembled. Just looking into the boy's eyes sent chills down his spine. So originally, the real Mok Gyeongwoon and Guard Gam planned to use me as a substitute and have the eldest young master, Mok Young-ho, kill Mok Eun-pyong, right? Quote. That's correct. That was their initial best course of action. The plan was called, the Fisherman's Gain. They had envisioned a scenario where the eldest young master, Mok Young-ho, would backstab the second young master, Mok Eun-pyong, who would let his guard down thinking the substitute had been killed. To this end, they had even planted false hopes in Mok Young-ho through a courtesan they had recruited. They put quite a bit of thought into it. Mok Gyeongwoon chuckled. The plan seemed plausible. In your opinion, Guard Go, do you think I can kill Guard Gam? What? I mean literally, do you think I can kill him? At this question, Go-chan furrowed his brows. After learning about the situation of the family, did he make up his mind to kill Guard Gam? But this fellow still didn't know that they were trying to switch sides. Guide me to where the Manor Master is. What, why do you suddenly want to go where the Manor Master is? At those words, Mok Gyeongwoon chuckled and said, since my life is tied to the Manor Master's life and death, I want to see for myself how critical his condition is. Lady Sok, the main wife of Yi and Mok Sword Manor, who had been waiting with a straight posture, looked in the direction of the footsteps ascending the floor. A middle-aged man with a goatee, wearing a shabby Taoist robe with a yin-yang symbol, carrying a backpack loaded with old books and instruments, appeared. He was the diviner Lady Sok had summoned. This diviner, called Myo Sin, was known to be quite skilled in Mengchung County. Lady Sok scrutinized his appearance from top to bottom with a doubtful face and clicked her tongue softly. She had an attitude of not caring whether the diviner was offended or not. Despite her attitude, the diviner showed no particular reaction and instead catered to her mood. Can I see the Manor Master now? Yes. That's fortunate. The longer a strange phenomenon lasts, the worse the situation becomes. Then, please have everyone within 30 steps of the main building where the Manor Master is staying leave. If they are close, they may catch the impurities from the Manor Master. I've done just that. What good would it be to leave prying eyes around when calling a diviner? She had already cleared the surroundings with a suitable excuse. If Madam could also step back. Swish. At that moment, Lady Sok slightly raised her hand and said, you remember the favor I asked of you, right? At this, the diviner smiled and replied, of course. Good, since diviner Myo is said to be so miraculous, I will trust you. Then, lowering her voice to a whisper, she continued. If you can just find out where the Manor Master's seal and secret manuals are, I will immediately give you 300 silver taels as promised. Oh my, thank you. Diviner Myo Sin bowed his head repeatedly, expressing his gratitude. Seeing his behavior, Lady Sok let out a soft sigh. Phew. In fact, she didn't have much faith in deviation or such things. It was just that she had changed her mind due to a certain opportunity. She had called the diviner with a glimmer of hope. Single quote. If only you had given your support to that child, none of this would have happened. To think of making the son of a mere courtesan the successor. Resentment filled Lady Sok's eyes as she looked at the door to the Manor Master's room. On the way to the main building of Yi and Mok Sword Manor where the Manor Master was staying. Walking side by side as a guide, Go Chan glanced at Mok Gyeongwoon. What is that place for? That is the martial arts training ground. The place Mok Gyeongwoon pointed to with his head was the first training ground. Ah. Then, someone in the training ground caught Go Chan's eye. In the training ground, there was a boy with a strong impression, his upper body bare. The boy, with well-developed tan muscles on his upper body, was practicing horse stance while sweating profusely. Mok Gyeongwoon. He was the youngest young master, Mok Gyeongwoon. Despite having innate martial talent, his passion was so great that he invested all his time in martial arts training except for meals and sleep. It was no wonder the Manor Master favored him. He's attached. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that the first training ground was Mok Gyeongwoon's exclusive ground. Someone is training over there. At Mok Gyeongwoon's remark, Go Chan said in a whisper. That's the youngest young master. The youngest, is that Mok Gyeongwoon? That's right. Is that how martial arts are practiced? He's building leg strength through horse stance. It can be said that the foundation of all martial arts comes from the lower body. I can't stand the sight of that lily bastard boasting about his martial talent. It's unlikely to happen, but if you happen to run into him, refrain from engaging in conversation. He was wary of him to the extent of writing this. Something must have happened. Why does he dislike him? After hesitating for a moment, Go Chan whispered into his ear. Quote. The real young master disparaged the youngest young master's mother as a vulgar courtesan and got beaten to a pulp. That was 2 years ago. He still remembered. The sight of the real Mok Gyeongwoon crawling on the floor with his leg bones and ribs shattered. He was begging for his life like crazy. Because of that incident, the youngest young master, Mok Gyeongwoon, genuinely hated Mok Gyeongwoon. He seems to have a kind heart. What? Judging by the fact that he left his limbs intact. Single quote. His brows furrowed. As expected, this fellow had a different thought process. Even if he was a fake, it was like talking about himself. Anyway, now is not the time for this. In any case, let's go quickly. It's better not to run into the other young masters right now. It could become really dangerous. At Go Chan's urging, Mok Gyeongwoon silently chuckled. It was a truly interesting place. Seeing the brothers quarreling like this. And so, they passed the training ground and headed to the main building where the Manor Master was. Looking at the pavilion leading to the main building, Go Chan frowned. What's going on? Usually, the clan's guard warriors would be guarding the front of the pavilion at the entrance of the main building. But there was no one. Inside the Manor Master's room. Around the Manor Master's bed where he lay, a dozen red threads formed a boundary, and silver coins with holes in the center were flowing down between the threads. Clang clang. The flowing silver coins made a sound as they collided. Diviner Myo Sin, who had removed the Manor Master's top and was looking at his chest, clicked his tongue. Usually, when called for a strange phenomenon, most of the time, it was unrelated. So he just had to pretend to perform some deviation and pass the time. But this time was different. Bulge. Centered on the middle of the Manor Master's chest, black blood vessels bulged out grotesquely. At a glance, it looked like a symptom of poisoning. However, the strange thing was that the area was constantly moving. It's heading towards the heart. The bulging black blood vessels were moving towards the heart, turning the area pale. But as if blocked by something, they had not reached it yet. Diviner Myo Sin grinned. But now, there was no need for that. I just need to do what I was hired for. The request was not to save the Manor Master from the strange phenomenon. It was enough to make the Manor Master spit out where the seal and secret manuals were before he died. Diviner Myo Sin took out a talisman from his backpack. Myo Sin, holding the talisman, poured red ink onto the inkstone he had prepared in advance. Tap tap. Dipping the brush in the red ink, Myo Sin began to engrave characters on the talisman. As he drew the strokes, it took the form of a ghost. Myo Sin chanted something in a small voice. The Emperor's Proclamation, bearing the strength, the off 5 directions, why do you not perish, the flying immortal, 10,000 demons. Demons, hearts. Quote. Tremble. It was strange. The end of the talisman trembled on its own. Myo Sin attached the trembling talisman to the strange phenomenon on the Manor Master's chest, which was constantly moving towards the heart. Tap. Right at that moment. Bulge. The black blood vessels began to subside, centered on where the talisman was attached. Then, diviner Myo Sin formed a hand seal. Snap. Bringing the index fingers of both hands together and tightly interlocking the rest symbolized immovable roots. Supporting the index fingers and spreading the interlocked middle fingers, he brought them together. At the same time, he began to chant the mantra of protecting and killing. Jia Bing, Jia, Bing, Lin, Jia, Lin, Bing, quote. As he chanted the mantra of protecting and killing, the Manor Master's body convulsed. A faint vapor began to flow out from where the talisman was attached. He interlocked all his fingers. It symbolized external restraint. Then, the Manor Master's Adam's apple bulged out. As if his airway was blocked, the Manor Master's face turned red. Seeing that, diviner Myo Sin's expression hardened. The killing intent is too strong. Myo Sin, who had been forming the hand seals, got up from his seat and raised his right hand, forming the Vajra Mudra on the Manor Master's Adam's apple. And he continued to chant the mantra of protecting and killing. Before the mantra of protecting and killing could finish. Creak. At that moment, the closed door to the Manor Master's room slowly opened. As a result, the 3 red threads tied to the door came loose, and silver coins fell to the floor. Clang clang clang. Oh no. At that instant. Bang. Ah. With a strong rebound, diviner Myo Sin's body was thrown backward. The force was so strong that he didn't know how far he would be thrown, but then someone grabbed his back. Thud. The startled Myo Sin turned his head. The one who had caught him was a boy with extremely refined and handsome features. The boy was none other than Mok Gyeongwoon. Myo Sin, who had been momentarily at a loss for words due to his strikingly good looks, was about to express his annoyance at being interrupted. I told you not to let anyone in, so how? Flinch. However, Myo Sin couldn't express his anger to the end. What is this? It was Guard Go-chan. Guard Go-chan, who had guided Mok Gyeongwoon, was baffled by the sight of the Manor Master's room, filled with red threads strung with silver coins. He had found it strange that there was no one around the main building. But who was this person, and what bizarre act was he performing here? Excuse me, who are you, and here? He doesn't seem to be a physician. Mok Gyeongwoon said, looking around the room. At this, diviner Myo Sin waved his hands in a hurry and said. I don't know who you are, but didn't you receive a message from Madam? This is an important moment, so please leave immediately. Madam. It's a moment that shouldn't be disturbed. It was indeed a truly important moment. In the midst of controlling the strange phenomenon invading the Manor Master's heart, the killing intent had interfered due to the interruption. In this situation, the killing intent would rather make the strange phenomenon even stronger. Please leave at once. There was no time to waste. At Myo Sin's urging, Guard Go-chan frowned and muttered. Could he be a diviner? Phew, that's right, I'm a diviner, so quickly. What's wrong with him? At that moment, Mok Gyeongwoon pointed to the bed with his chin and asked. Diviner Myo Sin turned his head. Cough, cough. There, someone was coughing with their back arched like a bow. Manor Master. Manor Master. Mok Gyeongwoon made a puzzled expression. The condition of the Manor Master he saw for the first time was bizarrely strange. His back was arched, his chest facing upward, and his throat was moving up and down, looking quite painful. No, why is the Manor Master like that? Leave, hurry up and leave. Myo Sin shouted and tried to push Mok Gyeongwoon and Go-chan out the door. Right at that moment. Gulp. A loud swallowing sound came from the Manor Master, audible to everyone. Looking at the Manor Master, his back was still arched like a bow, but the bulging of his throat that had been moving up and down disappeared. The Manor Master's expression, which had been painful, seemed to ease. But suddenly, the Manor Master, who had his eyes closed, opened them wide. Oh, Manor Master. The Manor Master's horrifying eyeballs were not just bloodshot but dyed red except for the pupils. Amidst that, with his back arched and his head turned in such a way, it was even spine-chilling. Diviner Myo Sin shouted at Mok Gyeongwoon and Go-chan. Why you two, help me, hold down the Manor Master so he can't break the threads. Hold him down, you say. Although he couldn't understand the situation, Go-chan could tell that it was serious. There was no time to think it over in his head. Go-chan hurriedly rushed towards the Manor Master. Mok Gyeongwoon did the same. Is it enough to just hold him? Even if you hold him, never make eye contact, and if you feel your hands getting cold and a chill down your spine while holding him, let go no matter what. It was quite an ambiguous piece of advice to hear. Anyway, if they didn't hold down the Manor Master now, something terrible would happen, so Go-chan didn't ask any more questions and quickly grabbed the Manor Master's freed right arm. Grab. He wanted to grab the fixed left hand, but he couldn't bring himself to ask Mok Gyeongwoon to do it. But here, a problem arose. The Manor Master was said to be weakened, but he was a master of internal martial arts who could not be matched even by Captain Gam. The strength of such a Manor Master was too much for even Go-chan to handle. Smack. He easily shook off Go-chan's hand and instead grabbed his wrist. Huh. Snap. The grip of that hand was so strong that it felt like his wrist would break at any moment. In a panic, Go-chan instinctively tried to twist the Manor Master's wrist using the grappling hand technique. Tap. At that moment, the strength of the Manor Master's hand gripping his wrist weakened. Huh. He wondered why, but Myo-sin had already attached the talisman to the Manor Master's forehead. And forming a hand seal, he chanted an incantation. Taking this opportunity, Go-chan tried to remove the Manor Master's hand gripping his wrist. But the moment he tried to remove it, the grip strengthened again. Crack. Go-chan's wrist was twisted and broken. The bone pierced through the flesh and protruded out. Arg. A scream burst out from Go-chan's mouth. It was remarkable that he endured it despite the bone not only being broken but also protruding out. But when the blood oozing from the pierced flesh touched the Manor Master's hand. Squirm squirm. The strange phenomenon that had bulged out in black, centered on the heart, began to move to the Manor Master's right arm with a surging momentum. Swish, slice. At that instant, something unexpected happened. The Manor Master's wrist, which had been holding Go-chan's wrist, was cut off. The one who had cut off the wrist was none other than Mok Gyeongwoon. In Mok Gyeongwoon's hand was a sharp sword, one of the items hanging on the wall. Go-chan was utterly perplexed. Although it had been perilous due to the strange phenomenon, he had never expected the Manor Master's wrist to be cut off. Diviner Myo-sin felt the same way. Cutting off the Manor Master's wrist. Just who was this guy? The Manor Master was the head of Yi and Mok Sword Manor, yet there was not a moment of hesitation. Squirm squirm. As the wrist was cut off, the strange phenomenon that had climbed up to that point tried to move back to the Manor Master's body. That's it. Another opportunity had arisen. If the strange phenomenon targeted the heart again, he could control it with talismanic techniques and somehow suppress the rampaging energy along with the killing intent. However. Slice. Just as the strange phenomenon was about to pass the elbow and move towards the shoulder. Mok Gyeongwoon suddenly swung the sword and cut off the arm below the shoulder before the strange phenomenon could climb up. Diviner Myo-sin was so surprised that he shouted in shock. You. He wanted to say something, but he was so dumbfounded that he was at a loss for words. To him, Mok Gyeongwoon said nonchalantly. Isn't it better than trying to send it back through the body? Thud, thud. The black blood vessels in the severed arm of the Manor Master on the floor wriggled and thrashed about like a fish out of water. Diviner Myo-sin removed the talisman with the character, Ya, that he had attached to the Manor Master's forehead and attached it to the severed arm that was wriggling and jumping on its own. Then, forming a hand seal, he chanted an incantation. Bulge, bulge. Then, the entire thrashing arm grotesquely bulged with black blood vessels. It was difficult to look at unless one had a strong stomach. Even guard Go-chan turned his head to avoid it, but Mok Gyeongwoon stared at the grotesquely transformed severed arm of the Manor Master as if it were interesting. Sizzle. The talisman trembled, and the skin it was attached to turned red. As if affected by it, the areas around the skin where the talisman was attached, which had been bulging out, began to subside. Right at that moment. Swish. A cold and sharp sensation was felt on the right side of his neck. Diviner Myo-sin, who had been chanting the incantation, suddenly stopped. What is the meaning of this? A sharp blade was pressed against his neck. The one holding the blade to his neck was none other than Mok Gyeongwoon. Young master. Even guard Go-chan was perplexed by Mok Gyeongwoon's sudden outburst. However, when Mok Gyeongwoon put his finger to his lips, signaling him to be quiet, he couldn't say anything more. What the, is this guy thinking? As he was bewildered, Mok Gyeongwoon parted his lips. From what I see, you seem to be called a diviner. Is the Manor Master's brush with life and death related to this? See, can't you see, your Manor Master has been consumed by a strange phenomenon. What is a strange phenomenon? At Mok Gyeongwoon's fundamental question, Diviner Myo-sin swallowed his dry saliva. He had to hurry and perform the exorcism, but he couldn't understand why he was doing this. Young master, I will explain everything, so please remove the sword. If this is not properly purified, the Manor Master's condition may worsen again. Are you sure? What? The body part has been separated, yet it can worsen again. At Mok Gyeongwoon's question, Diviner Myo-sin's eyes wavered. Usually, when such a bizarre incident occurs, people tend to trust the words of a diviner, who can be considered an expert. However, this young fellow was doubting him. Diviner Myo-sin calmly replied. Look here, how could I lie when I'm performing deviation after receiving money from Madam? At this rate, the Manor Master's life is in danger. Swish. Before he could finish his sentence, the blade slightly dug into his neck. Startled, Diviner Myo-sin was taken aback. What is this? Are you really determined to ruin everything? I don't know who you are, young master, but if the Manor Master dies, it could all be your fault. If the Manor Master passes away, it would be the fault of you who couldn't properly perform deviation despite being paid, so how would it be my fault? Single quote exclamation mark question mark single quote. Diviner Myo-sin was momentarily at a loss for words. Looking at this bastard, who showed no sign of wavering even when he said this, it seemed as if he had no interest in the Manor Master's life or death. Could it be that, like Madam, he's not hoping for the Manor Master to live but waiting for him to die? That possibility couldn't be ruled out either. Swish. Eek. Madam told me to find out where the secret manuals and the Manor Master's seal are from his mouth, even if I don't have to save the Manor Master's life. In the end, Diviner Myo-sin spilled out what he knew. At this, guard Go-chan was at a loss for what to do. Shit, I never thought Madam would do such a bold thing. The target they were trying to switch sides to was not Madam and the eldest young master, but the second young master. But if Mok Gyeongwoon hadn't come here, the eldest young master would have inherited the manor master's position before they could even make a move. Please spare my life. If Madam hadn't ordered it, I would never have done such a thing. I will purify the strange phenomenon right away, so please. No. What? To the puzzled diviner Myo Sin, Mok Gyeongwoon pointed to the manor master and said. Try doing what you just said. What are you? To the flustered diviner, Mok Gyeongwoon said with the corners of